So you teamed up with some interesting folks to get this one out of your system, and I want to know all about all of them. How did the song begin?
Well, it started with me and Ricky Reed. I basically made my album with five people. Not all of them were in the room at the same time, but Ricky and Scott were kind of like my main collaborators in this, as well as a man named Che. And so for this song, it started off with me, Ricky, and Che, and we basically had this was written like the first idea of it was written a while ago. And so we had a verse with like different chords, and we had this chorus, and it basically came from the idea of a lot of like my favorite Latin music that I listened to growing up has lyrically, like they have this like life message in a song. And it's very like, it is like mostly this theme of like, I'm heartbroken and sometimes life sucks, but kind of like having a sense of humor about it and being like, that's life. And I love the kind of like juxtaposition of that, of it being like you're dancing, but you're also like, haha, I got fired and divorced. Haha.
Yeah, well, to your point, that's the tapestry of life, and at some point, if you're lucky enough, that happens to you because it's an experience that people should go through because it means that you lived a life, you had a job, you fell in love, you had an experience. But the only way
Totally.
you can come out of that is if you can sort of look at it as just one of the numbered balls in the barrel of life, right?
Totally. And, you know, and something that my mom has always said to me, like I remember like my first like two heartbreaks, like me just being like devastated and my mom being like, you know, you're devastated now and you're going to be devastated the next time that this happens to you. And you're always
Hmm.
like, oh my God, like, how am I going to, I'm never going to, you know, experience something like this again. And life kind of proves you wrong every time. Like, you just never know what's around the corner. And my mom has literally always, multiple times, I'm like, this happened and then this happened. She's like, así es la vida. Like, that's just like the way life is. And so I wanted to make a song that had English words, but gives me that same feeling that a lot of these Latin songs give us. And so basically, we had this version of the song. And then by the time that Ed had heard it and been on board to do it, I was like in a different place in my life. I, you know, come out of this like long relationship. And so, and also Ed was like, okay, I love it, but I want to change the chords on the verse. And so he had like a morning, yeah, it's like the busiest freaking guy in the world. I don't know how he does it, but he had like a morning off. And so me, him, Ricky, and Scott Harris uh, went in the room and like wrote, we all wrote my verse and his verse, recorded it, um, and finished the song. And I feel like throughout this process, my writing style, like I got really excited about writing again in the sense that I love reading. And I feel like my favorite poets and my favorite novelists write really, really specifically. And I feel like I started off as a writer kind of trying to capture these big emotions. I'm in love, like, you know, all I do is dream of you. And then I was like, I feel like the most powerful thing is to zoom into like the super, super details of it, like basically saying it without saying it. And so that first verse where it's like, you know, you were scared of the ocean and now you're surfing, you know, I, you know, thought we'd be together forever, but I just sold like the house that we spent a lot of time at, wherever.
Yeah, it's
And
brutal. It's
basically,
brutal. The thing is, right, look, here's the thing. You and I know each other well enough for me to say this, everyone's going to write about this, talk about it. It's going to be fodder for people because you had a very public relationship with somebody, you know. I know
yeah,
the two of you and I really like the two of you, you know that. And Ed does too. Ed's got to write this with you and he knows Sean. So it's super complicated
totally.
and weird. And so everyone's going to write about this and whatnot. But the reason why the song cuts through is because everyone has those experiences when you lose somebody, and it could just even be a friendship when it's like, hang on a minute,
100%.
we were best friends and you used to talk about that person behind their back, and now you're hanging out with them, and I'm in the cold. What the?
Totally. And that is really like, I think what we were trying to get across in the verse is just that things change and things take really unexpected turns. And just showing that through like the actual details of it, you know. And I think like
Yeah.
it has a bigger message than, because you know, for me, it's like you know, I love Sean, and I feel like there is literally nothing but love for him. And this song is mostly just about like, okay, how do I make a song that shows the cycles of love and life and gives people, you know, whatever it is that's going on in your life, whether it is a breakup or a divorce, or like you said, a friend breakup, or you've just gone through something that just is really like, hopefully this can make you kind of be like, it is that way now, but things are always taking, you know, crazy turns
Camille,
and
nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts
nothing lasts
forever.
forever.
And that is a brutal
Totally.
realization. That when you become a parent, you try to shield your kids from that reality as long as possible because forever seems like a magical place. But eventually
Totally.
you realize like nothing lasts forever. And what I really think is a triumph of this song, apart from it being so lyrically deft and light on its feet, considering the subject matter, it's you at your best, dealing with heavy while dancing. But I will say that, you know, it's a tribute to a moment in time.
You know, I feel like I'm finally like, before this album, I feel like I was like just like early 20s were so hard, like literally so hard. I was just like, what can I do? What therapist can I see? Like, what do I do to just like feel okay and feel stable? And I'm finally at a place where I feel like I've had experiences, I'm doing the therapy, I've put in a lot of work, and I'm like really at a place where I'm like, okay, like I kind of, it is true, like that wisdom cannot really be gained through obviously like books and reading and podcasts and all the self-help, like it's good, but I do feel like there just nothing beats like experience and just living it. And I think I am at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. Like I'm actually I'm good, and I feel like I'm at a place where I don't need things to be perfect to enjoy my life. And that's actually what the song is about too, is like you don't need things to be perfect to give yourself those moments of joy on the dance floor and in your life in general.
You know, I got to ask one more question in relation to the song, then I want to talk to you about the future and this year and everything else. But one of the things I really respected about the two of you, knowing you both, is that you were able to live your life together privately. You
Yeah,
really did.
totally.
You set a
Totally.
bar that most people either run into or they set it so low they can step over it whenever they want. And you set the bar high for everybody, right? And I wondered what you learned about that tricky relationship between achieving your dreams that require performance and attention and quote unquote fame and living a normal life. Because I feel like for a while there, and I feel like you lived a normal life and then you came to a normal end and it felt normal. It didn't feel like all the other that goes on that we read about, you know? That's what I think.
Well, I think also like my priorities have fluctuated and my focus has changed throughout my life. Like those years that we were dating, I don't even feel like, even while I was writing this album, and even still now, I guess, like my focus is really on how can I be a well-rounded person, and how can I, apart from my career, my focus like wasn't even on my career. Like this album literally was a tool of me becoming a more well-rounded person and acquiring like, you know, intimacy with my collaborators. That was my number one intention, was not even how do I make the best album and the best music. My number one intention was how can I just like make music with people that I want to have dinner with afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how can I
Yeah.
like, you know, how can me talking about these things help me build trust with people? How can I talk about the icky things that I haven't talked about with anybody and then get it to a place where these people, because they're like, oh yeah, I totally relate, can validate my own experience. And same thing with those years that we were together. Like my focus was just like, how can I be, live a happy life and be in a healthy, happy relationship? How can I like, I was doing therapy a lot. Like my focus really has like shifted a lot. And even now while I'm in promo mode, like I'm like, honestly, like if I'm not having fun, what's the point? You know, like, so I think as I get older, like, yeah, the priorities shift. And I feel like that was that way for both of us. It was always just like, because we both started so young too. It's like we're really learning how to be healthy adults, and like that sometimes means not having your number one focus be your career, and like that's okay, you know.
Without a doubt. And you seem so much more, look, you know, I'll get to know you over the course of all this and stuff, but I'll make this observation, albeit maybe it's a little step too far, but you just seem balanced. You just seem like there's equilibrium and you're clear of mind. And you can hear it in the music as well. So it sounds really focused. What did you learn from Ed, working with Ed? Just to turn a phrase or the way that he approaches his writing, because few people can turn the tap on and off, and I use that analogy very deliberately because he does, as effectively as he can. You know what I mean?
Totally. Well, and thanks, by the way, for saying that, because I do feel like that is so true. Like I feel the most balanced and the least, like I feel like I have like the least mental suffering that I've had, like in my in my like late adolescent years and my early 20s. Like there was a lot of that, and I feel like it does show in the music that I'm like, I really did not have anxiety in the studio at all. Like it really was like super fun, and me just like, I was reading a lot of Sally Rooney and me honing into what is exciting to me about writing, what's exciting to me melodically, what's exciting to me lyrically. And I feel like Ed and I, now I finally, like, I've always been such a huge fan of his, but I feel like we really consciously, I understood like why I love what he does, which is I think we both like the same things. Like he loves the specific details. He was just like, what's like, we were all like, what is just some real that happened, you know? We threw out a million different examples. Like, what are the things that have changed from the beginning to now? I didn't know how to drive. I just got my license. You know, all the examples of how we both have changed.
Ed has this deep love and curiosity for the romance of almost of banality, what other people would call banal.
Exactly.
Like you could sit there and you could have a conversation like, oh, I just got my license or I sold my house. And honestly, unless it was someone that loved you or cared about you to that degree where they're interested, it would sort of be in one ear and out the other. Whereas Ed will take that and he'll find how is that a really important moment in life.
Totally. And he's always loved stuff like that. Like in that song Tenerife Sea, where he's like, I love the way that, like, I forgot the line, but it's like, well, whatever. Like, I know you love Shrek because we've watched it 12 times, or like when you put your hair on the side, or like, you know, he loves like that. And I think as I get older and learn more as a writer, like, I'm like, oh, that's what really excites me. Instead of being like, wow, things change, being like, you said you hated the ocean, but you're surfing now. It's just like a lot cooler, more gut wrenching way, writing wise, like to say that. And so, yeah, it was really sick to like be able to get in the studio and like bounce off of him. And I also feel like he treats every song like a conversation. Like I feel like he could go really detailed and then be like, you know, but get excited about like what you would say to your friend. Like not everything works out. Like it sucks, you know? So yeah, it was really inspiring and fun to work with him. Cause I also feel like doesn't get, he doesn't allow himself to get stuck. Like it's just like very fast paced, like just like, okay, try that, put that in, then we'll change it. Then so yeah, it was fun.
I want to know before we say goodbye where we're at with an overall body of work, because that's I think what people are excited about. Familiar, this album as a whole, and how you sort of feel about putting it out and the subject matter on it, and just to kind of put a placeholder into this until we catch up next time.
Well, the album date is official. It's coming out April 8th. And I mean, like you said, I feel like this has been a journey for me in terms of really using relationships and other people and interconnection and interbeing to really get myself to my most stable, honest, like true self. And that's why this album is called Familia, because I just feel like those relationships and that intimacy between my collaborators and the friends that I made along the way, really got me from like a place to a great place. And I'm just like, I couldn't like be more proud of this album. I mean, I feel like everybody says this, but I really do think it's like my best album so far. And I had like the most fun making it so far. So I don't even, you might like another album better, but I had the most fun making this one.